for tuning in and coming to eat bread and drink wine with me again on this episode. This is episode number 3 for season 2, and I'm so excited. I got a word to bring with you guys. Please stay into the end. It's really good and very helpful. So, the title of this podcast is called Cannabis. You know, the marijuana cannabis, yes. Just listen, just hear me out. Okay, so God was showing me in parts what's happening in the world, and on top of everything else that's going on. This happened, God showed me this of summer 2024. I didn't know what it was until now. I had came across a video where a young man, a Caucasian young man, was mentioning gerrymandering. Gerrymandering, please, excuse me. Gerrymandering. And I was like, oh, okay. So then everything is just started piecing together. So I looked it up, gerrymandering, and this what I found out. Gerrymandering is the practice of drawing distorted districts. Redistricting plan. Redistricting is the process of drawing legislative districts based on the census. It's maps drawn to affect every voter across the United States. Okay? The gerrymandering is related to the census. Okay? So, well, what are you trying to say? Okay. This has happened already back in, I think, like 1950s. And Trump used it for his presidency. And basically, Trump cheated himself into office. The votes compared to the census is like, hey, all these people didn't do the census. Where did all these votes come from? So he used the census to win his presidency, when it really should have been based off democracy. So this is why we need to do the census and go out and vote. When we don't do our part, we give the enemy loopholes to come in and attack our people, family, and friends. Attack our households. Some of us don't have friends. Some of us don't care about. But what about your household? You know? Now, you're like, what do cannabis got to do with this? Cannabis, the legalizing cannabis don't help. Okay? This right here, how you know that it's the governor and the commander. The president is the commander in chief. And then we have our governor. The governors who passed this law. This is how you know that this is related to a death covenant. It's spiritually. A lot of times we do things, we go about making votes and think that things should be go as planned. But we have to understand that our governing system, everything is related spiritually. Okay? And I'm going to get to a point where I explain that better. But right now, so this is how you know our governors and our commander, chief and commander, is part of a death covenant. And the death covenant is in the Bible, and it is connected to rulers. Rulers meaning governor, meaning commander, and the president is chief and commander, and then we have our governors. I probably already said that before. But yeah, the death covenant, I can actually get where it's at, but I just want to briefly say something about that, but not really basic on the topic. So that's proof that, because okay, so now them legalizing drugs, what that's supposed to do? Well, the fact that when it's on the streets and being sold by an unlicensed person or for non-medical reasons, they can lace the weed. So that means the weed isn't organic anymore. It's just as bad as the vegetables and fruits we eat that's been contaminated with pesticide toxins. So the weed is not organic no more. It's toxic and poisonous to your body. They lacing it with fentanyl and all whatever else they doing with it. And it's taking people's lives. Okay? Death covenant. So I just want to get a little bit more into what I'm trying to say here. So like cannabis don't help. That's why it was legalized to help with this spiritually distorting of our minds. I see it mainly happening to men and our young men and the men of God. They are going backwards. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but they are going backwards. Maybe you ain't noticing now. Maybe you'll notice it after this podcast episode. We are now operating under the death covenant, which is connected to the shadow of death. The angel of death is different from the shadow of death. One is pale. You know, that's the sign. Pale is the sign of the death angel. And the other is a shadow. It's an actual shadow. And one death happens over time. You know, the death angel happens over time, like through sickness or reckless behavior. And the other is right away. No health problems, be quiet. Like they can be young and the shadow of death is taken. Have you guys heard this mysterious deaths of TikTok influencers? And if they're not a TikTok influencer, maybe somebody in your family, a young person with no health issues, no cancer diagnosis, just died, just lost their life. Most likely and probably highly, the shadow of death did it. And the shadow of death, you can go read about the shadow of death in Psalms 91. Let me see. Yeah, so we got the death angel and we got the shadow of death. And the shadow of death will take anybody. You do not have to be unhealthy for it to take you. Just like that. And it has been released. It is released, people, because of and it's connected to the legalizing of drugs, which is connected to spirit distorting the mind, which is connected to the death covenant. Let me see. Well, the shadow of death is not in Psalms 91, but it's in Psalms the 23rd Psalms. Surely goodness and mercy. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Okay? The shadow of death. Yep, right there. And then when you go to Psalms 91, he says, now, the only how this shadow of death can come into your home and take one of your young people, your young adults, your young teenagers, fresh out of high school, taking a gap year off before they go to college, and they sitting around and they smoking weed, they doing the drugs. And the only way that the shadow of death cannot take them is because they have somebody in their family covering them in prayer, praying against the attack. Even though we didn't know what was going on, but God is telling us now what is going on. And then you got Psalms 91. It said, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So the hedge, your hedge, the praying relative, the praying mother, the praying father, your hedge is covering your teenagers who is doing things you know they shouldn't be doing. But then at the same time, you allowing them to live their little life because you was able to live yours. But believe it or not, times have changed. Times have changed. Times was bad when we was coming up. Times is even more bad because Jesus is coming. Jesus is closer. The returning of Jesus is closer than ever before. And he can surely come for anybody individually. And we know Satan can come for people too soon. We know people can leave too soon, sooner than what should have been expected. But we also know the word of God says tomorrow isn't promised to nobody, too. And so, another thing God revealed to me is that Satan, he have an opportune time. You can locate this in Luke 4:13. An opportune time is it specifies a season or opportune moment where circumstances come to a head and allow for action. He did it to Jesus twice. He came to Jesus when Jesus was filled with the Holy Ghost. And then he came to Jesus when Jesus was about to turn himself over to fulfill the shedding of the blood, the Passover. Mm-hmm. And the enemy, the devil, tried to use Peter, his favorite disciple. His favorite disciple. The devil tried to use Peter to stop Jesus from carrying his cross. For carrying the cross. And he tried to stop him again before he went and started doing miracles from carrying the cross. By shortcutting and taking the easy way out. So, because of that, because of the loophole, because of the cheating to get into the office, this time is the seventh triumph, the reigning of God. This time also is harvest. The God is separating the wheat from the weeds or the tares. And Satan, he doesn't want to respect that. So he's in war with families. He's in war with God's chosen people, with God's chosen ones, with God's anointed ones. He's in war because he's trying to stop the triumph of God, the seventh triumph of God. And he wants to continue to take over and continue to do what he wants and cause oppression over God's people. When you have an oppression over your home, sometimes it's from the things you're doing, but sometimes it's also from our rulers ruling over us, causing additional pain and brokenness and hardship. Sometimes the spirit comes from them. So we prefer safe, upright, standing politician Christians, even though we know they can't control the world with the Bible, but at least we know that you are in your right mind, and that we know that you will do what's right. And what's right is whatever you're involved in, with mainly with God. And you don't even have to share with everybody. You don't have to have church. You don't have to make things spiritual when you're in a political position, when your life is, when God is the head of your life. But at least your light is reflecting. Because sin blinds us from the things that's happening until it's has grown into this mass energy to the point where it's affecting a number of people, a number of families. Then we want to say something. Then we want to speak up. But if we would stop being blind, Satan wouldn't have an advantage, and there wouldn't be no loopholes for spiritual attacks to attack and affect us as people. Because of sin, Satan was able to prolong and take advantage of the blindness, even though his opportune time, his season, his moment was up or is up. His time is up. Well, Sister Jess, what you mean? According to Proverbs 6:31. It says, but if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold. He shall give all the substance of his house. But if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold. He shall give all the substance of his house. This is Satan. This is Satan, if he be found. And God has found him. He's been caught stealing, killing, and destroying, oppressing his people. And he's going to get arrested and give back everything he took from us. Because this is our Jubilee year. Everything's been restored. Everything you've done has been forgiven. You have asked for forgiveness. You have took the time out to ask for forgiveness for every detailed thing you did that was not pleasing to the Lord. And it has been forgiven. Open up your mouth. Everything that God brings to your memory and remembrance of what you've done in your childhood. Whether it's rhythms, whether it's rhymes, childhood rhymes that was demonically connected to satanic curses. Whether it was songs you sung that's connected and related to the demonic satanic curses over your life. You have thought about those things and you have asked God to forgive you for doing it. You was specific about what it was. God has forgiven all of it. And he's about to redeem every last one of us because we are forgiven. And he's going to give us back everything that the devil took and stole and tried to destroy from us. Satan don't know when to move around. He think it's his time all the time. Satan act by chronos and not by kairos, time, God's time. Satan puts up war to stay in charge, to stay ruling. He puts up spiritual war. keeping down the people that God want to use, trying really hard to keep down the person that God's trying to use to magnify his name, but he lost. Doing widowhood, brokenness, and sin. It suggests Satan the perfect moment to take advantage of an opportunity. Christians who finally gave their life to Christ, dedicated their life to serve him, often gets a little guilty because they like, man, I feel bad because I should have been over here serving God a long time ago. You often feel guilty, and Satan will use that guilt to control your decision making. Trump used the oldest trick in the Bible, doing Christian things to get the Christians thinking that he's going to be in there doing it for the Lord. You guys feel so guilty that you guys needed to vote him in because it'll make up the time you didn't, you wasn't serving God. You wasn't living in the light. But let me just warn you, you cannot go by your feelings, your own personal feelings. You have to be in your word. You have to listen to God, and you have to get past your feelings and stop trying to focus on it's about you. It's not about you. It's about what God wants. That's something a lot of Christians have to learn to do. So, because Trump tricked us and cheated himself into the office, he's a tyrannos. That's what he is. He's a tyranny. He is an absolute ruler who seizes power unconstitutionally, often without legal right, yet not necessarily cruelly. Originally, this terminology, tyrannos, it was a neutral term for a sole leader who often had popular support to overturn aristocrats, before later being associated with oppression by philosophers like Plato. Oppression. It's still originally, before later being associated with oppression. All that is connected to the ruler. Oppression over the people. Oppression in your home. You praying against it. That's fine. But guess what? Because he cheated himself in there, he's ruling over us and causing this heaviness upon us. Tyrannos meant a monarch or unauthorized ruler of a city-state, distinct from a king whose power was traditionally inherited or limited. So, it says, okay, aristocracy literally means rule of the best. Oligarchy is ruled by the rich. And then democracy is ruled by the people. Rulers, the governor and senators and House of Representatives, Democrats, everybody is telling us what to do, how to think, who to vote for. They do videos to discredit the other candidate for winning. But I would rather, and if you agree with me and comment why you agree. I would prefer to have the rule of the best governing over us. Monarchy. I would rather have rule of the best being the monarchy. Being the monarchy. It was a young lady. She was Caucasian, and she was showing us a map how everybody who was in presidency, how they was related. And that is what you call oligarchy, where the wealthy is ruling and not run by the most qualified, virtuous, and intellectually superior citizens. It is ruled by the rich. In hereditary monarchy or wealthy oligarchy, it's actually, when it's ruled by the rich, it's actually considered a corrupt form. When it's ruled by the rich, it's considered a corrupt form. When it's ruled by aristocracy, it is considered someone who is most qualified, virtuous, and intellectually superior citizen, rather than just wealthy. That's what I would rather for to be. I've never experienced a rule of the best. It's always been ruled by the rich. If it's aristocracy, it is often inheriting their status, wealth, and power. They are all wealthy, but at least with aristocracy, they look more not to wealth, but to being qualified and intellectually superior. Someone inheriting is someone who have worked hard and earned their respect. Somebody who's worked hard to get to the top, to earn their respect, will not take advantage of their work. Will not take advantage and mess up and destroy what they've worked hard for. They will do their best to make sure they do a great job because of their title and their name and what they want to be known for. Not just wealth. So, I say this. We need new people in office. Trump is about to get arrested. Trump is about to get arrested because he is not supposed to be the president in office. Trump is in the way of God reigning. And he's got to go because the season has changed. Trump is going to get arrested for either stealing, killing, or destroying. Either the one. Stealing his way into the presidency position. Stirring up wars, killing people for no reason. Yeah, we know the Bible says there's going to be rumors and rumors of wars. But this is not a season for war. Maybe spiritual, but not physical. Trump either going to get arrested for destroying something. Maybe dealing with agricultural. Maybe dealing with something that is very sacred and important to the presidency, something. Yes. The only people who can pray him out of that office and pray that the truth be revealed is the individuals who did not vote for him. Everybody who voted for Trump, you pledged for this man to act and do what he did. You agreed to what this man is doing. Anybody who voted for him agreed to what he's doing. One minute he talking about Christian and this and doing that for Christian, doing that, Christian that. Then he talking about ally. Then he talking about he don't know where he going if he pass away. I pray that God get a hold to him before it's too late. But at the same time, this is what we're facing in real time. In real time, this is what we're facing and dealing with. So that is all.